And when crowds become the only judge of value, you're not living in a culture anymore. You're living in a feedback loop, and that happens when profit becomes the loudest voice in the creative room. Because analysts, this isn't just about live service games, man. It's an industry-wide problem, an industry-wide phenomena. It's a full-blown identity crisis for the gaming industry at the moment. And if you've ever felt that nagging sense that something is off, but you just couldn't put your finger on it, you were right to trust your gut. And let's unpack why. You analysts remember the PS2 era, right? You would wake up in the morning, controller in hand. Some of us would go to sleep with this device. Some of us, that was our first smartphone experience. We'd be sleeping without controllers. Anyway, you would play from morning to sunset. No FOMO, no battle pass, just pure, unfiltered, unadulterated immersion. Okay, there was an adult, but that's besides the point. The point is, games were art. They had mystery. They had depth to them. You weren't logging in for dailies. You were logging in to lose yourself in immersion. And now, well, you sit down, you put up a game, and in less than 10 minutes, you're already half asleep. And it's not because you're tired, it's not because you're too old, it's not because you have bills to pay, it's because you know that deep down, this ain't it. Something's missing. Now, maybe an intelligent skeptic might say, maybe we just grew up. Wrong. Because if that were true, then why do we have grown adults grinding Elden Ring or pour 100 hours into Red Dead Redemption 2? You see, when the game respects you, your time and your mind, they show up. Another counterpoint might be, well, games are just more accessible nowadays. Cool, but accessibility without soul is just convenient. Yes, you're right. Modern games are everywhere. Cloud streaming, free-to-play games, mobile cross-platform. You can literally play from your couch, your phone, even your fridge. But the question is, what are we accessing? Accessibility without intention just gives us more ways to consume shallow slop. More login bonuses, more currencies, more UI designs, less soul. UI is basically user experience. And let's be honest, analysts, back then, you had to work to play. You needed a disk, memory card, and the patience to sit through loading screens as if you were sitting through the Trial of Grasses or something. But I'd argue that that barrier made you value the experience even more. You committed and you stayed. Now, if a game doesn't hook us in the first 30 seconds, we bounce because we know there's 100 more waiting where those came from. So yes, games are more accessible, but what we've gained in access, we've lost in reverence. And you, dear analysts, aren't wrong to miss the magic. You were simply right all along. And then, of course, enter our dead Spanish philosopher who has a sharper eye than most of these executives running the gaming industry. José Ortega warned, when specialists rule, culture collapses. Now, specialists, according to Ortega's worldview, are simply the people that are experts in one thing. That's all they know. They're not open to general knowledge or broader intelligent information. All they care about is what they do best. Those are what you call the specialists. So what do we see when these specialists are the ones who are running things? Like I already said, we're gonna see retention expert, monetization expert, UI funnels, battle pass designers, games optimized to keep you clicking and not thinking. No room for wonder, no room for meaning. You're not exploring a world, you're just completing a chore list. A modern dev team might have 15 people on shop interface layout and 0 on story development. That's not art. That's a spreadsheet in 4K with special effects. Ortega called it brilliance in the small, blindness in the big. He also said that the greatest danger was the state or the studio. He wasn't talking about taxes and politicians. He was simply talking about the danger of dependence, of giving up agency, handing over the cultural steering wheel to a system and saying, wake me when it's fun again. In his word, when the average person stops creating, questioning, or contributing to culture, they become what we call a passive consumer. They expect the system to deliver everything: food, shelter, meaning, purpose. And in gaming, that mindset has bled over. We don't build communities anymore. We wait for patch notes. We don't celebrate risks. We roast unfinished launches. We don't reward big, bold design. We benchmark it against other games and wait for YouTube to decide if it's worthy to play or not. But this is where I would have to push back respectfully against what Ortega is saying here. I would say that gamers aren't lazy or entitled. They're simply starved. starved for games that move them, starved for developers who care, starved for worlds that don't treat them like data points in a monetization funnel. The average gamer isn't the mass man that Ortega feared. I'd boldly proclaim that they are the forgotten aristocrat that still craves beauty, mystery, depth, but buried under an avalanche of seasonal content and algorithmic junk food. So I'll say that it's not that gamers stopped caring, it's that the system stopped feeding them anything worth caring about. And if you've ever felt that frustration of when a game doesn't hit the way it used to, you're not jaded. That was simply you being awake. Now, an intelligent, skeptical analyst might say, but Ayanda, work with me here. Didn't Ortega say that in chapter 6 of the book Revolt of the Masses, that the mass man consumes without contributing anything, that he expects everything from the system without offering anything back? Isn't that exactly what gamers do? Now, that's a good point, but I would say that's how it looks on the surface. But it's dead wrong once you actually look at how gamers respond to games that actually matter. Because when the product has soul, the gamers don't just consume, they carry. I mean, take Elden Ring for instance. It was a brutal, no hand-holding, deeply artistic game, and it sold well over 20 million copies. Players didn't need daily quests. They needed mystery and mastery. What about Baldur's Gate 3? Launched without microtransactions, battle passes, or predatory nonsense. The devs said, we simply wanted to make a great game. And the community lit up the charts, turned the studio into heroes, and turned word of mouth into wildfire. And what about Hi-Fi Rush? When Hi-Fi Rush shadow dropped without any marketing, gamers carried that game to success on pure merit. No FOMO, no drip feed content, just vibe. And then of course the Holy Grail, Red Dead Redemption 2. Gamers didn't just play it, they wrote essays about it. They're still writing essays about it to this day. They shared screenshots of it like it was oil-painted artwork. That's what I'd call contribution. You remember what happened with Cyberpunk 2077? We had gamers making mods to fix the game. Gamers build wikis. They translate indie games into other languages for free. They make lore videos deeper than the devs ever expected. That's not mass man behavior. That's culture creating behavior. So no, Ortega wasn't describing the modern gamer. I'd say he was describing the corporate infrastructure that's choking them. Gamers want to care, but you can't contribute to a system that sees you as just a metric. You know what I mean? But let's be fair though, because sadly, for every Baldur's Gate 3 moment, there's a Diablo Immortal that just pulled in $300 million, while players meme on it for being pay-to-win trash. For every player that handcrafts mods or defends creative indies, there's a million player spike the moment GTA Online drops a new casino update. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League faced backlash for its live service model, but it still pulled thousands of pre-orders on launch. We roast $70 price tags and drop $100 on cosmetics. We roll our eyes at mobile gacha games, but we be pulling daily for those legendary summons. I'd say that this is where Ortega still had a point, because the crowd doesn't always elevate the culture. Sometimes it feeds on what is easiest, what's familiar, what's cheap. So if we want better, we have to stop rewarding worse. So let's put this gaming identity crisis in full view. We have Ubisoft shutting down studios while still doubling down on NFTs. Nintendo is threatening to drop Mario Kart World at $80. Steam charts are becoming gospel, not guidance. Players are burnt out, creators are quitting, studios are folding, but the machine keeps churning out battle passes like it's 2018. Why? Because it's not about games anymore. You guys already know the drill by now. It's about control, engagement, a lifetime supply of value. And if they can stretch one engine into 10 years of profit, oh, believe you me, they will. Even if it costs gaming its soul. So what's the way out of this? How do we fix this problem? Well, our basic bread and butter is, of course, support vision. Buy games with guts. Games that aren't afraid to be what they are, unapologetically so. Reward meaning, not just mechanics. If a game moves you, share it, celebrate it, defend it. Because right now, the gaming industry listens more to metrics than to passion. And the only way to flip that is to make passion louder. This isn't about becoming a better consumer. It's about becoming a better curator, a fellow participant in the future of gaming. And I'd argue that you've already taken the first steps to doing so. Watching this video, you're asking the right questions. So the next time a trailer drops with the words content-driven experience, don't be surprised when